Bonjour tout le monde and welcome to this video where I will talk about the 3.20 league, the Forbidden Sanctum, a little bit about what I think about the league right now, what I think will be good about the league, and some builds and just some general tips and tricks that you should keep in mind when league starting. So first of all, I want to talk about the league itself. I would say that it looks like a really interesting, cool league. I like this like roguelite stuff and just the general theme of it looks really cool, as I am now actually started a game design school and I'm learning to make my own games, and I have to think about this idea of like how to make games and how to make the themes and you know how everything works and all that stuff. I'm gonna say like this looks really cool, and I really do believe that this has the potential to be like one of the best PvE leagues of all time. Now, before I actually say that that is what I truly believe, I want to say that it is very sad to see that they are not actually buffing more underused skills in Path of Exile. I had a look at the list of skills that exist in PvE, and there are legit some skills that you never see anyone use because they are absolutely useless. And it's really sad to see this continue, this trend, the past like 3 to 4 leagues, because a year ago GG used to like change the meta a lot, which is what they're doing this league. Obviously they're bringing down some of the top gems and everything and the top skills, but they're not buffing anything else and not making anything else that's underplayed interesting, and that's so sad to see. But hopefully next league we get what we want, and this league we're just gonna have to enjoy a really cool league mechanic, and we'll just see what happens. But one thing I want to talk about is a little bit about the items that are getting buffed and how that's going to impact some builds, and just a little bit about, you know, the game in general, and especially if you're a new player, if you're struggling, I have some tips for you in that department as well. So let's talk about the items that they're buffing. As someone who used to play exclusively Cyclone builds, I used to play melee Cyclone builds. I had a very big build on the forum and here on YouTube as well, where I played a Claw Cyclone champion, which was basically unkillable because it was the Bloodseeker Claw that gives you instant leech. So as long as you were hitting something, you were full HP all the time. If you took a hit for 99% HP, you would have 100% HP again in a millisecond. The leech was insane because you were dealing so much damage, right? That build kind of died out because they nerfed claws a lot in preparation for PvE 2, when claws will become unarmed and they will become quite strong again. But you know, PvE 2 is quite far away, so sadly claws right now, unless you're playing elemental claw, if you're doing some crazy shit, it kind of sucks. I wouldn't really suggest playing physical claws right now, so that build kind of died out. But I'm a big advocate for playing Cyclone, and seeing the Void Forge, Star Forged, and the Atzir's Disfavor changes, it made me kind of interested in maybe playing Cyclone again, because I haven't played Cyclone for the past couple of leagues, because I've been so focused on Death's Oath, which is, once again, I will be league starting with, but I am probably going to play a Cyclone character later on this league. So I had my eyes on a Cyclone Slayer with the Atzir's Disfavor, and seeing the upgrade to the Disfavor right now, obviously it's going to become very expensive, because Chris said that these new updated unique items will become very rare and they will become a lot harder to get a hold of, which will make them a lot more expensive. But I know that I can farm all that money with the Death's Oath, so I can buy that Serious Disfavor and I can play a good old Cyclone Slayer again and seeing how it is. And I checked the numbers in PUB, and it's about like a third more damage. Like, damage increase with the new Atzir's Disfavor is pretty nuts. And then adding in the AoE that you get from the +10 weapon range as well, it's going to be pretty nutty. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And that's something I want to talk about with you guys as well. If you guys are interested in playing Cyclone this league, then when you think about the league mechanic, then Cyclone sounds pretty damn good. because they said that the league mechanic is all about this new form of health bar, or whatever you want to call it, that every time you take a hit, you're going to lose some of this like new health bar thing. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, great video, man. You couldn't even do your research. Anyway, so they also said that if you are a ranged character, you're going to take bigger chunks in this new health bar because it is more easily to get punished as a melee character. So melee characters are going to get punished less for incoming damage with this new health bar thing that I'm talking about. And what this means for Cycloners is that this sounds great if you're playing Cyclone, because one of the benefits of playing Cyclone is that you can do damage while moving, which is one of the best quality of life features about playing Cyclone, is that if you're a skilled player and you know how to like dodge incoming damage, you know how to dodge slams or spells or anything like that, then this is going to work great for you as well. You can A, dodge stuff more easily while cycloning around in circles around the boss, which is usually like the best thing you can do on the Cycloner. And B, if you actually do get hit, you don't even take that much of a hit on this new form of health bar. So I think Cyclone is going to be a pretty damn strong skill overall for this league, especially if you can afford some of these new pretty nuts unique items, or well, not new, but like these updated unique items. So that's something that you definitely want to keep track of as well this league. If you're having problems in the Sanctum, then maybe look for a Cyclone build that can, you know, handle that a little bit easier. And the second thing is exactly the same for that, which is the Death's Oath build that I have been league starting with the last couple of leagues, and I will be league starting again this league. The good thing about Death's Oath is that you can just run around in circles and just deal damage to the mob, to the enemy, because Death's Oath is a damaging aura around you, so you don't have to actually manually do anything. Unless you want to deal more damage, then of course you have to put down Caustic Arrow. But Caustic Arrow kind of works the same thing. You have to use it once, and then a pool of like degen ground drops underneath the enemy, and it's going to deal damage. So you shoot one arrow, run around in 2 circles, shoot one arrow, run around in 2 circles, and you don't really have to care about like incoming damage because you can just manually dodge everything. So that's definitely something to keep track of in this new league. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is last league I did a armor stacking champion build that utilized a lot of mana reservation because it is a aura stacker. So aura stackers is basically when you take a bunch of auras and you utilize them in different ways to make your character really strong, and I did that to gain a lot of evasion that I turned into armor that I turned into damage with the replica Dream Feather. And aura stackers have been very meta for many leagues in the past, especially when Delirium came out and, you know, the voice jewel and everything like that came out, and there's been a lot of changes to the build and or like the archetype, and there's been a lot of changes to mana reservation. But GGG announced that this league we're getting mana reservation on basically all normal jewels, and that could potentially mean that aura stacking and armor stacking, which I have shown in that video, could be potentially a lot more interesting again for this league. So that is something to keep in mind, that if you get a really good jewel with some good stats that also have mana reservation, then that is potentially worth a lot of money, or could be build enabling for your own build. So do keep track of that if you ever drop a jewel like that as well. And this is also something that I talked about earlier in the video about the changed, updated, unique items. If you're thinking about playing a build which has any of these items, then you have to be very careful, because Chris said that these are going to be very rare to get a hold of nowadays, and we obviously don't know exactly how rare they're going to be or where you're going to be able to get some of these. But guessing, I would say that some of these items are going to become very expensive. So don't think that you're going to play a Cycloner and that you're going to have like Void Forge within the first 3 days, because that might be extremely hard to get a hold of or extremely expensive to buy. So if you're league starting, then think about that, look at the items that they're using in the build and realize that like, hey, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't pick a league starter that uses like, you know, a Serious Disfavor or Starforge, anything like that, because that's going to be really hard to get a hold of. But obviously maybe that's something you can focus on later on in the league, and that's a goal that you can try to achieve. And also remember that like killing certain bosses now is going to be more interesting, because if you do get one of these items, I guess it's kind of be like a jackpot. Like if they're really hard to get, then you're not really going to be able to target from them that easily. But if you do hit one and you do hit the jackpot, then maybe you make a lot of money. So that's something to keep in your mind as well. And now the last thing I want to talk about is making your character stronger without gear, or playing the perfect build. So I know a lot of people who come into my stream, and I just see it on Reddit and stuff like that as well. A lot of people struggle with league starting because they don't have money, they don't have gear, maybe they picked the wrong build and they have to re-roll and stuff like that, and it can be really rough, and maybe the game is just hard in general and you just don't know how to progress. There's one thing that I see that a lot of people don't really understand, is that you can utilize other instances in the game to benefit yourself. And what I mean by this is the Atlas skill tree. Now, this is something that I've been doing ever since they introduced the Atlas skill tree, because I tried it out and I just absolutely fell in love with it, and I've been doing it ever since. And I know a lot of people probably know it, but everyone definitely does not know it, because I see it being in so many areas where people don't know that like this can benefit you so much, and people say that they're struggling, and then I ask them, well, are you doing this? And they're like, no, I don't do that. I'm like, do it, it's so good. And that is utilizing shrines in the game. Now, shrines are a form of a buff in the game. It's like an altar that you can click on, and when you click on it, you get like a buff for your character for like a minute or something like that. It can be like increased AoE and more HP. It can be like you shoot, everything you do it twice. So if you dash twice. If you shoot a spell, you shoot your spell twice and stuff like that. It's like spell echo. And then there's like immune to damage and you can't die, and like there's all these like really great shrines. And utilizing shrines through the passive tree is absolutely insane, and it is something I do every single league, because not only every time that you have a shrine in a map, it is surrounded by monsters. So if you have a lot of shrines in your maps, then you obviously have a lot of monsters around those shrines that you can kill, gain experience, and gain loot and stuff like that. And then when you kill them and you take the shrine, you get the buff. If you have multiple shrines in a map, you can have multiple of these buffs. And also, the way that the Atlas tree works, if you look at, for example, Supplication, that's going to guarantee you a shrine. And then you look at Drawn to Power, then that means that shrines in your maps are guarded by at least one magic pack. Hey, that's more experience and some more loot. And then you look at Syncretism as well, 30% increased effect of shrine buffs on players in your maps, and shrines in your maps grant a random additional shrine effect. So we have shrines that make us stronger, and by having this, we get 2 buffs instead of 1, and the buffs that we get are even better as well. And then when you look at the smaller nodes leading up to this as well, then it says increase the effect of shrine buffs in your player maps, and 10% additional shrine in your map, and duration of shrine and stuff like that. So if you take all the nodes leading up to these shrine nodes as well, all the smaller nodes, then you have shrines that are really strong. You get 2 buffs per shrine, and you have them basically double the duration of a normal shrine would have. And this can legit make your character twice as powerful. I shit you not. Like, I utilize this in every league because I know kind of how broken this is and how easy it makes mapping. You get HP, damage, speed, like immunity to damage, you can't die, and you get so much, and you get more packs of mobs, and it is just absolutely amazing. And I am absolutely the biggest advocate for using shrines in your Atlas tree, and I basically do that the entire league. I cannot map without shrines, not because my character can't do it. I could remove them and my characters could still do it, But like, why would I want to remove character power when I could just have it there? And especially early on in the league when my character might not be that strong, I can utilize shrines and I can be twice as strong instead. So like, yeah, use shrines if you're struggling with the game and you want to have something to help you out. Shrines is a perfect way to do that. There are many things in the Atlas tree that can help you instead of pushing you further away from success. Obviously, you can make mobs stronger and they give you more loot. But if mobs are stronger, you might not be able to kill them. But if you utilize shrines, then you're going to have an easy time mapping. So keep that in mind, is that utilize the Atlas tree in your favor to make the game easier for you. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching the video. Have a fantastic day. And for the upcoming 3.20 Sanctum League, I hope that you don't fall over and trip on your boots, and I hope you don't get a sprained ankle and, you know, rest up in the